Okay. Okay. All right. All right. I was like saying that. I'm not sure why. I think it's a reference to that one guy. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Driving my car. What's his name? Timothy something. No, it's not it. Hi, my name is Father Mike Schmitz, and this is Ascension Presents. So, someone had recently asked me this question. I thought was a really, really good question about sins against the Second Commandment of keeping God's name holy. Second Commandment? Yeah. The sin of blasphemy was what it came down to. And the Catechism, the modern Catechism of the Catholic Church, defines blasphemy like this. Actually, this is just a partial definition, but here's the beginning. It says this: blasphemy is directly opposed to the Second Commandment. I was right, second. It consists in uttering against God, inwardly or outwardly, words of hatred, reproach, or defiance, in speaking ill of God, and failing in respect towards Him in one's speech, and misusing God's name. And so the person went on to say, but what about humor then? Does that mean in failing in respect towards God, that's the big thing that was concerning them, was, okay, so I like humor, and it's sometimes there are some things about God and about the church and about the saints and about that are genuinely funny, but if a sin against blasphemy is failing in giving God the respect that is His due, well then, wow, it seems like maybe there's no room for humor. And I would say that's a phenomenal question to be asking in the first place. Just that sense of, okay, so just because I'm inclined towards something, like joking about this or laughing at that, finding this funny, it doesn't necessarily automatically mean that it's okay. Or just because I can do this in other contexts doesn't necessarily mean it's okay when it comes to God. So when it comes to humor and God, is every attempt at humor when it comes to God wrong? Blasphemy, as it were. I'm going to say no. Here's why. It all hinges on the word respect. It says failing in respect towards God. And let's go back to this person. They mentioned that one of the things that happens is with their friends, they really like to tease each other, like to joke around with each other. Now think about with your friends, you probably have some level of sarcasm or some kind of level of like teasing or joking with each other, and that is something that bonds you together, right? To laugh and to laugh at each other with each other can be such a huge gift. But what is the context of that laughter? What's the context of that teasing or that joking around? The context is always respect. I mean, it's friends who mutually respect each other. That's the only thing that makes this comment that you made to your buddy or to your friend funny. Like, as if you didn't respect them, if they didn't know that they were fully respected, then that comment, if it was like kind of the jokey, sarcastic comment, would actually be not funny at all. It could be demeaning. It could be cruel. You'd be a jerk by saying this. If we didn't respect each other, it would be not funny at all. Does that make some sense? That's kind of the beginning. Now, the second level is like, let's expand this because we're not approaching God as His buddy. And that's the thing, is like this person in their question was like, they're like, I don't fall into the trap of like, Jesus is my buddy kind of a thing. And I'm like, good job. But expand this to authority figures. Expand this to your parents. And he said the same thing. So parents have a natural and even supernatural authority over their kids. In fact, the 2 commandments later, the fourth commandment, all about the honor, the obedience that we owe to our parents. Okay, so in that case, they say, well, does any joking or teasing have any place in a relationship between kids and their parents? And you understand that on some level, like no, on some level it's like, okay, not yet, kid. Because why? Because a child who teases their parents, or a child who jokes with their parents, a child who is too young to understand like the proper way that those in authority and those under authority should interact with each other, they have to learn that. But as they come to embrace, like, yeah, no, I absolutely know the fact that you have authority over me and I'm under your authority, that in a healthy family, there's room for joking, there's room for teasing, as long as it's in the context of respect. If that was in the context of not respecting your parents, if that was in the context of like, and these are people that we do not love and honor and obey, then you're just being mean. You're just being cruel. You're just mocking them. That's mocking them. But in the context of a relationship where there's love, in the context of a relationship where there's respect, then that's laughter. That's humor. That's actually funny. And it's a shared memory that does what? Shared memory that binds the family even closer together. Now, okay, let's expand this to God. Now, keep this in mind. we're talking about God, it's a whole other level. It's not just my buddy. It's not getting Jesus my buddy, and it's not just merely a parent-child relationship. When we're talking about God, we're talking about the creator of the universe, the Lord of everything, the God who deserves all honor, the God who deserves all respect, God who deserves all reverence. So any attempt that you and I have to strip God and then make him one of our buddies, like no, shush. He is not like us. He is God. He's not just like our parent authority over us. He is God himself. And therefore there's a whole nother degree of reverence, a whole nother degree of respect, a whole nother degree of love and honor. Okay, establish that. That being said, it's not only a whole nother degree of respect and reverence and honor, it's a whole nother degree of relationship. And that's the key word, relationship. Because the same God of the universe is also the Word made flesh who dwelt among us. And he wants us to be known. And he calls us, I don't just call you slaves, I call you my friends. So there's this dichotomy, right, of all honor, all reverence, all respect belongs to him. And he's called us his friends. He's brought us into a real relationship with him. Therefore, there is, I would maintain, there is room for humor. There's room for, I'll say this, there's room for a sense of reverence and a sense of humor. There's room for it, but we have to be careful about it. Why? Because it always has to be in the context of love. This is the God I love. It's always in the context, and not just I love as my buddy. This is the context of the God who is being reverenced and being respected. That's one of the reasons why the TV show The Family Guy, I've heard that it's really funny and really well written. I can't watch it because I remember when I watched the episode, they always have Jesus as a recurring character. And I know that, listen, I think followers of Christ are able to make ironic comments about Jesus. For example, when I was in high school, I remember my best friend and I were talking about what sport would Jesus have played, and I was a swimmer, so I'm like, and he was a basketball player, and I was like, well, no, Jesus would be a swimmer because he'd just like run across the water, he'd run on the pool back, either end, and my buddy was like, his name's Dan. Dan would say, well, no, he'd be a basketball player because he like gave up the rock, Peter, right, the whole thing, and so. I didn't say we were the funniest people in the world, but like that was our kind of a joke about Jesus because we're both Catholic and we both love Jesus. And so we can kind of make a joke about walking on water or make a joke about giving up the rock. That's different than The Family Guy, which makes jokes about Jesus or has Jesus joking, because for my friend Dan and I, we love Jesus. We respect him as God himself. And the writers of The Family Guy don't. And that's why we can't laugh at that kind of stuff. That's why, like, well, God can take it. Yeah, he can take a lot. It's not about whether he can take it or not. It's about, should we even be exposing ourselves to that? Because what is that doing? That is not giving God the respect due to his name. Why? Because it doesn't matter if it's said in the spirit of humor or in the spirit of anger or in the spirit of mockery. If it's not given in the spirit of respect, it has no place in my life. So, is there room in our lives as Catholic Christians for a sense of reverence and a sense of humor? Absolutely. At the same time, we have to remember that the God that we laugh with, the God we can be in this relationship with, he is still God. And there is a sense of humor, but there must always, always be a sense of respect and reverence. For all us here at Ascension Presents, my name is Father Mike Schmitz. God bless.